Hello yogis, and thank you so much for joining me on the mat today. If we haven't met, my name is Lauren, and over the next 30 minutes I'll be guiding you through a Yin Yoga sequence for the upper body. We'll be working on our arms, our shoulders, and getting into the thoracic spine. It's probably less common to have Yin sequences on these areas. Usually the target area are the hips and the legs and the lower back. And part of this is because our shoulders are a hugely complex joint. They have a huge range of motion. They can do lots of sort of things. So it just means that we've got to be extra careful with them. And you'll see today that we hold a lot of the poses for a shorter amount of time. And I just encourage you that if something's feeling painful for you today, particularly in these areas, please just back out of the pose, come out completely, maybe try something else that's similar. For our class today, you'll need a bolster and a blanket. And if you don't have a bolster, you could use some pillows off the bed or maybe a couch cushion. And if you don't have a blanket that's sort of small and foldable like this, you could use a towel. We'll start with some breathing exercises linked to movement. So bring the hands to the chest in prayer. As we inhale, the arms sweep up and overhead. As we exhale, the hands come back down, almost like you're pushing something below you. Inhale, arms rising up. Exhale, down. Moving with the timing of your own breath, matching each movement to the inhale and the exhale. Just doing a few more rounds. The next time your hands come back down, just bring them back onto the thighs. We'll start in a child's pose today. And you could do this without any props, completely up to you. So the knees are wide, toes come to touch, hips come back to the heels, arms out in front of you, forehead on the mat. Now this may not feel great for everyone. So you have the option to bring the bolster and come to lie over that. I just encourage you to make sure that you're still feeling some sensation through the armpit and the arm. And if you're somewhere in between the bolster and not using a prop, you could simply bring the blanket underneath your forehead here, just to bring the ground closer to you. And wherever you end up, just allow the body to melt. The chest and the forehead melt towards the earth. In Yin Yoga, we aim to relax the body as we lie in each of these poses so that we can start to gently exercise our joints. So we try and release and disengage our muscles so that they're no longer protecting the joint, which might sound a bit dangerous, but it's okay as long as you're moving slowly, mindfully, and checking in to how your body is feeling. We'll be here for another 30 seconds, seeing if you can let go a little bit more. When you're ready, slowly walk the hands back towards the body. Remove any props off to the side. Come to lie down on your back. And you can either have the feet wide, the knees knocking in towards one another in constructive rest pose. You might also like to lie in a mini shavasana with the legs out long. Just feeling the effects of the previous pose. Maybe a warm, tingling sensation. Moving as mindfully as you can. Roll onto one side and help yourself back on up to a seat. So we'll set up for shoelace, and I'm going to sit onto a blanket here just to lift my hip bones so that I'm not rounding through the lower back. And we'll bring the right leg so that it comes underneath the left and your knee is sort of pointing out in front of you. The left leg comes on top and you just want to bring that foot so it's sort of resting next to the right hip. So the knees are stacked on top of each other, and just play around and see what feels better with your legs, maybe with the feet closer to the hips or maybe further away. Everyone's hips are built differently, so just see what works for you. And if this is just feeling dreadful, you might like to straighten up that right leg in a half shoelace. If shoelace just ain't your thing, totally fine. Come into a butterfly by bringing the soles of the feet together and the knees out wide. So wherever you are, we'll set up for cow face arms. So we bring the left arm up, bend at the elbow, and place the fingertips in between the shoulder blades. Now you have a few options. You could bring the right arm onto the left elbow, just helping to coax the hand down a little bit, but not pressing here. Another option is to bring that right arm out wide, turn the palm to face the back of the room, bend the elbow, and take hold of the left fingertips. So you've formed a bind here. And if you can't quite reach, that's totally fine. You could just hold onto your shirt. So wherever you are, settling in, you'll feel a stretching sensation down the inside of the arm and the armpit on the left arm. And if you've got that bind or your t-shirt, you'll feel some sensation down the front of the shoulder on the right side. Just letting your gaze be straight ahead here. This is a super strong pose for both the hips and the shoulders. So coming to an appropriate edge, which is finding the position where you feel some sensation in the target areas, but it's not painful. So you can stay still and you can stay here for a while. Taking a couple more deep breaths here. And moving as slowly as you can, unclasp the hands, bring both arms out wide, enjoying that release. And we'll come to eagle arm straight away. So bringing the left arm on top of the right and creating that bind. So you're wrapping that right arm around the left once, maybe twice. Bringing the elbows to a similar height to the shoulders, doesn't have to be exact. Pressing the forearms and the elbows away. Feeling the sensation across the back of the shoulders. And it's always okay if you feel the target area somewhere different. So for example, here you might feel more of a stretch on the outsides or maybe some compressions on the inside of the armpit. And that's okay. If it feels like it's doing something for you, go for it. But I encourage you to play around and see what works for you and see if you can find that target area. And of course, if you're in eagle arms and that double bind is way too much for you, you could just bring the back of the hands together, or maybe bring the hands onto the shoulders. It can be quite strong, so just working with how your body feels today and how your practice is today. Stay here for a few more breaths. And slowly unravel the hands, bringing the arms back down to your side, unraveling the legs. And you have a couple of options for your rebound. You might like to bring the feet mat width apart, lower the legs, the knees to one side and then the other, windshield wiping the legs. You might also like to come straight down into a mini shavasana, just finding somewhere that you can relax, doing any movements that your body craves. We'll slowly make our way back up to a seat. So if you're lying down like me, rolling onto one side, use the hands to come back up. And we'll set up for the other side for shoelace. So this time we bring the right leg on top of the left. Oh, I forgot my blanket. If you used a blanket last time and it worked for you, you might like to reinstate that. Positioning the feet where it feels comfortable for you. And we'll set up our cow face arm. So this time the right arm comes up, bend at the elbow, fingertips in between the shoulder blades, either bringing the left arm to rest on top of that right elbow. You might also like to bring that left arm out wide, flip the arm to face the back, and clasp hands here, or holding onto your t-shirt if you can't quite reach. And we always like to stay still in these yin poses. But if you try an option and it just isn't feeling good, or you're feeling some pain, please do come out. It's more important that you avoid injury than, try and stick it out and push through. It's a very yang attitude to do that, and I know I'm a shocker for it. But let yourself off the hook here. Just find that happy medium where you're feeling something, but the discomfort is manageable. We're here for another 30 seconds. Use this remaining time to send the breath to where you feel tension, allowing that area to relax a little more. Slowly release the hands, bringing them out wide, enjoying that flush of blood back through the arms and the elbows. This time, we'll bring the right arm on top of the left as we go into our eagle arms. So either doing that double wrap, maybe just bringing the backs of the hands together, or the hands could come onto the shoulders. Wherever you are, just connecting to the breath, connecting to the body, paying attention to where you feel sensation in the body. And maybe ask yourself, what does this sensation feel like? Is it hard? Is it final? Or is it soft and cushioned? Does it feel like a stretching sensation or maybe a compression sensation? Knowing that as long as you're not feeling painful, that sensation is totally okay. Our bodies are completely different, so they're bound to feel different things in different shapes. You might also notice that one side seems a bit stiffer than the other. Releasing the arms out wide here and letting them come down onto the mat. Unraveling the legs and either windscreen wiping the legs, or you might like to come into constructive rest or your mini shavasana, honoring what your body is calling out for. Wherever you are, we'll make our way down onto our back and roll onto the left side here. Bring the hands out long in front of you with the palms stacked one on top of the other. Now your head could rest just on the mat here, or you might like to prop it up with a blanket or a cushion, like so. And you might also like to pop a blanket between the knees here. We'll be doing some twisting, so the prop could go between the knees or maybe underneath both of them, just doing what feels better in your body. So we'll move through a somatic movement in towards our twist. So slide that top hand so that the hand comes over the wrists. Then bring the palms back together. This time the hand comes to the elbow crease and we lean on our back slightly, and then resetting back to that start position. Sliding that right arm back towards the left shoulder. And resetting. Right arm, our hand comes to right shoulder, and our back is getting close to the ground now. Resetting. Our right hand travels all the way into a twist. Making sure that both shoulders are on the mat here. If it feels good, gaze could be over that right shoulder. If you find that you're struggling to bring both shoulders onto the mat, prop up your knees here, either with a blanket or you might need a bolster. Paying attention to how your body feels in this twist. Bring your head back to center so you're gazing up to the ceiling. Slowly lift your knees to point towards the ceiling. Resting here for a moment. And we'll set up to do the same twist on the other side. So this time we are leaning on our right hip. I'm just going to adjust my microphone. Beautiful. So we're on our right hip this time, and the arms come out long. This time the left palm is on top of the right. Using any props here that you enjoyed on the previous side. And when you're ready, bring the left palm to the right wrist, sliding the palms back together. The left hand comes on top of the elbow crease and then resets. This time the hand comes to the right shoulder and we find ourselves falling onto our back a little bit more. Palms come back together. Left hand comes to left elbow, back to its starting position. Finally, the left arm, our hand slides up the arm and we come into our twist. Checking that the shoulders are pinned into the mat here. You have the option to turn the head so that you are looking over that left shoulder. Noticing what you feel here. Bringing the head back to center, removing any props out of the way, and lifting your knees to point up to the sky. Giving your knees a hug here, and rocking gently from side to side. Bringing the feet back onto the mat, and we'll set up for a supported fish here. So you're taking your bolster and bringing it so that it runs horizontal to your mat. Lie back down so that the bolster sits underneath the shoulder blades here. Arms come out wide, top of the head comes onto the floor. Now this can be quite strong for a lot of us. So instead of a bolster, you might like to use a block underneath the shoulder blades instead, or maybe just a rolled up towel or blanket, just so that the height is a bit lower. And if this is too much for the arms out wide, you could just bend the elbows and bring the backs of the hands onto the forehead. Just playing around, seeing what works for you. You could even bring the arms overhead. We're trying to feel sensation through the inside of the arm and the front of the shoulders. We're also opening through the chest. You might also feel sensation through the front of the throat. See if you can relax into the discomfort. Moving as slowly and as mindfully as you can. Will slowly come out. So bring your chin to your chest. Use your arms to support you here. Come up, remove the bolster. And lying back down on the mat into Shavasana. You're welcome to do any final movements here. Maybe hug the knees into the chest. You could also pop a bolster underneath the knees here, just to help release the lower back. Once you've settled, closing down the eyes, tuning into the breath, enjoying this final relaxation. If you find your mind starting to wander, that's okay. Just gently bring it back to the breath. know that you're welcome to stay here for as long as you like. And if you're ready to come out, start to bring movement back to the body by wiggling the toes and the fingers, rolling the head from side to side, finding a long stretch, bringing the arms up overhead, the hands and the feet pulling you in opposite directions, and then rolling over to come onto your side, using that bottom arm as a pillow. Keeping the eyes closed, use the hands to help you come up to a seated position, knowing that there's no rush. When you've arrived, bringing the hands in front of the heart. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.